There we go. Can everyone hear me? I hope so. I have to juggle a lot of stuff when I'm doing these. All right. How's everybody doing today? You hanging in there in between eclipses? In between the lunar and the solar eclipse? Let's see. Just making sure I got everything pulled up here, live on Facebook and live on Instagram. And I'm recording. This will be live later. Yes, it appears everything is working. So we're going to talk a little bit about the eclipse happening early Thursday morning. It's a new moon solar eclipse. And what that means is obviously the moon comes in and makes a shadow over the sun so that we can't see its light. Now, this is in the sign of Gemini, and it just so happens to be joined by a Mercury retrograde. And so I keep saying that this is really going to have a lot to do with changing timelines for people, really pivoting directions. And there's many, many reasons why I say that, but it's going to change a lot of perspective. So I do want to know if everyone has been experiencing synchronicities like I have. That was what I sort of imagined would happen for these eclipses is there would be things that you hear over and over, rainbows to chase, rabbits to follow, that sort of thing. So let me know if that's been happening for you. And so I do want to go through a little bit of what happened recently with the last eclipse so that I can explain this eclipse. Now, for the lunar eclipse, that was May 26th. I do have a video up on that. And for the lunar eclipse, what we were doing was deleting old stories. And I use this example, and it's so funny because now that this is actually what's happening right now is there's a new iOS update. And iOS is the Apple operating system. And of course, I'm sure Android users get that as well. And I didn't light my little incense here. I want to. So for the lunar eclipse, May 26th, what was going on is we were making space for this specific update. I don't know if you get notified that you need to update your software. And then you go, oh my gosh, I don't have the space. I have too many apps. Or I have too many pictures, or I need to make room. That's exactly what we were doing. May 26th, making room for this update. And then in between the two eclipses, it can feel quite quiet and maybe working through some emotions as the moon grows dark. It's the balsamic phase of the moon. And then, of course, on Thursday morning, when we have the solar eclipse, that is when we actually download and install the new update. And so this is in the sign of Gemini. So that's our intellect, the way we think, the way we communicate. And of course, being joined by that Mercury retrograde, it's likely like if you ever get the new programming and then it changes all of the apps and you don't know how it looks, that's what I am assuming, predicting, whatever word you want to use, thinking that it's going to be like. There may be some things that are uncomfortable that look a little foreign that, oh my gosh, this is the direction I'm going. I had no idea. Okay. So there's a few reasons why I say that. Number one is that the lunar eclipse was square to Jupiter in Pisces. And then the solar eclipse is square to Neptune in Pisces. So we are really being called to this sort of, how a caterpillar turns into goo before it becomes a butterfly. That's what this is calling us to do. It's highly spiritual. It is really associated with dreams and mysticism. And then, of course, for the harder aspects of Neptune being square to the solar eclipse is confusion and disillusionment. Now, I am suggesting on Thursday that everyone be quiet, do what the animals do. There's no animals that, stand outside and look at the solar eclipse. Obviously, we can't really see it in most of North America, but you can see the solar eclipse, I believe, from Canada. That being said, that's a day for us to be quiet, to let this dissolving happen, to let this spiritual insight into our intellect, to integrate it, to listen. And so, animals, they go into their holes, they get quiet, they quit flying, or they fly at a time when they shouldn't be. Weird stuff happens during solar eclipses. So mimic that behavior, be quiet, go into your hole. Really honor this resetting, because that's essentially what it is, this download, this update. Okay, so the moon is emotion, it's our soul, it's nurturing, it's the mother, it is the luminary that shines brightest at night, and it is coming to eclipse the sun, our solar light, our purpose. And so when we think of setting intentions for this new moon, I'm also suggesting not to do it on Thursday. I'm suggesting wait until Friday, when the moon moves into Cancer and conjoins Venus, which is really beautiful energy, to let that emotion settle, and that's when we should really set intentions. So avoid the solar eclipse time frame if you're going to set intentions, or really try to call in something new, something wonderful, because we will be. Now, as I said, with Mercury retrograde there, a lot of people are scared of Mercury retrograde, or like avoid it at all costs. And, that's fine. You do you. But if we all avoided Mercury retrograde every time, that would be like half the year. Mercury is retrograde 3 times a year at least, and for a month, so each time. So, okay, maybe a quarter of the year, whatever. I'm not a perfectionist. So that's what's going on here, is Mercury is having us rethink, reassess, redo. And when the solar eclipse comes in as well, we're really getting reset. Okay. So it's important to kind of get quiet and to listen, meditate, journal, maybe don't do any rituals or anything like that until Friday, or intention setting in a very sort of magical way. Don't do that Thursday. If I don't really want to say it again, just don't do that Thursday. Okay. All right. So I want to go through and look a little bit too at why I think this solar eclipse is really changing timelines and really getting us into this pivot where our whole future may be a little different. Okay. That is because Neptune is at 23 degrees of Pisces during this solar eclipse. What is interesting to me is that during the Jupiter-Neptune conjunction that happens next year, it's at 23 degrees. So we're really setting intentions anyway, or resetting, or starting a new cycle, however you want to look at this, anyway, for 6 months. But with Neptune in the mix, it's also going to have reverberations through this Jupiter-Neptune conjunction. And this is in Pisces, so it's highly, again, the word spiritual, the word mystic, the word fog, the word confusion, the word dissolution, dissolving, rose-colored glasses, illusion, magic, dreams, all of those words, right, are in the mix, and they will be reverberating throughout our reality for at least the next 6 months. So you can expect the unexpected. And I really feel like after Jupiter goes retrograde at the end of July back into Aquarius, all of these things from the solar eclipse and all these ideas, and we're bound to have ideas, we're bound to have inspiration, will be tweaked. That's when we're going to work on it and figure out how to implement that in the future. I am someone who's been a little wary of Jupiter in Pisces. There's a lot of people who have been really excited about it because Jupiter is abundance and its home sign is Pisces. But in our modern times, we've really never seen the two rulers of Pisces come together, Jupiter and Neptune. Neptune's the modern ruler, Jupiter's been the ruler traditionally. And if I were to think of a aspect where cults would be formed, this is it, right? So there is a high propensity to be taken for a ride with Jupiter in Pisces and Jupiter conjunct Neptune in Pisces, which is what makes this solar eclipse even more important in Gemini. It's calling attention to the fact that we need to think and we need to listen and we need to research and we need to consult our gut on things. Okay. You can oftentimes feel the truth in your body. And I think that's what this aspect with Neptune is about. So it's going to really cause us to have to reflect. And that's something we should do. But a lot of times, especially in modern times, we just go about being busy and doing the things and learning the things and speaking and doing the lives and all that, right? But there's going to be a connotation of reflection and retreat and spirituality, surrender, all of these things over the next 6 months. And so you might as well go into it knowing that. And now a square can often bring tension, right? So we want to have this reflection, but the Gemini stuff is making us need to be busy and frenetic. But this just means there needs to be resolution, right? So we have to work with both of these things. How can our intellect fit with mysticism? How can science fit with spirituality, right? That's kind of the question with this. Now, to add to the carnival vibes, which I think that's what we've got going here, is of course Saturn is in Aquarius. Okay, now it's not touching the solar eclipse by degree, but it is pretty close to trine the North Node within 3 degrees. And Saturn in Aquarius is bringing a mastery of the future. What does that even mean, right? But an innovation. Okay, so we're innovating our structures. And of course, Aquarius rules aliens. I just wanted to say that. Don't forget Aquarius rules aliens. I joked at the beginning of the year because the Jupiter Saturn conjunction was in Aquarius, and I joked and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if aliens landed? Well, haven't we had a little disclosure going on? So, I really feel like we should expect the unexpected this year, and it'll be magical, and it'll be, a little bit of everything a carnival brings. And I talked about that in the last video. Clowns are scary, and some people think clowns are fun and funny. So, I guess it just depends on what your chart looks like and how you want to interact with this energy. But because of that, being able to dream up a future is what is the best part of this, like to dream outside of the box, to really allow yourself to think of who you are in the future, where you want to be, what you want to be, especially in terms of abundance when we're talking about Jupiter and intuitive insight and inspiration and creativity. That's a Neptune thing. So let's see what else is happening here. I do want to talk about how tomorrow leading up to this eclipse is Mars at the 29th degree of Cancer. Let's see, when does it hit? That hits tomorrow night, the 29th degree. Now here's something that I want to bring up into your psyche, not to scare you, just to think about it. Mars was at the 29th degree of Aries during the insurrection on the Capitol. Aries is a cardinal sign. So Mars at the 29th degree of Cancer, another cardinal sign, could see some resolution, some theme come back up surrounding that. So that's just something to pay attention to. The 29th degree is known as the anoretic degree or the crisis degree. Now you're talking about Mars, which is inflammation, in Cancer, which is our emotions and nurturing, the idea of mother, childhood stuff. So we're going to really be having to soothe ourselves, at least leading up to this solar eclipse, because the moon getting darker. So just use all your tools as we lead up to the eclipse. You're going to need to make yourself comfortable. And that's another reason why I say, it's probably best to stay quiet on Thursday. Even if you have to go to work, be quiet at work. And I don't necessarily mean your voice, although the stars might indicate that, but I just mean in your spirit, really being soft and feeling and listening and seeing what perspective changes you might be coming across just by hearing someone say something, or, having an idea. All of those things are possible on Thursday and actually leading up to the square of the moon in Virgo. So pay attention to the synchronicities, chase the rainbows. I was saying chase the rabbits, but someone on Twitter, said, I think rainbows are better to chase than rabbits. And I was like, probably not wrong. Chase the rainbow. So let's see, what else is this touching here? I don't really think there's much else that I haven't touched on leading up to this that's going to hit an aspect that's too close. So what I do want to do is go through the rising signs and the sun signs right now, because that is very important. All right, so we're going to start with Aries rising. Aries rising or sun. I prefer rising sign because that tells the house that it's happening in. Aries rising is third house, which is communication, learning, siblings, and community. This is where you're writing a news story. This is where you're downloading the update, okay? How you communicate, how you think, how you organize your thoughts, short trips, the community in general, but local. We're not talking about larger communities. We're talking about very local neighborhood communities. That's what the third house represents. So you're writing a news story there, how you communicate, how you think, your decision-making process. Neptune is in your 12th house. So we're really having to surrender where Neptune is, don't forget. So there may be, for Aries risings and Aries suns, a certain amount of spiritual retreat, reflection that needs to happen. Your dreams may be super wild. Pay attention to those. Those are meant to help you in this writing of the news story, in this new update. Okay. So it really is a very sort of psycho-spiritual place for you. Also, I would say subconscious, like these updates that are happening for you, while the Gemini stuff is in a very mundane, realistic area, in reality, the third house is like, okay, I'm talking, I'm learning, I'm teaching, I'm talking to my siblings, to my community. Neptune in the 12th, that's subconscious. So that's where you're really getting this update. Okay. So pay attention to your dreams, Aries rising, Aries suns. And, I would say because the lunar eclipse was in your 9th house, you were really deleting old narratives about what you believe to be true, right? So if you're really sure of yourself in an area, that lunar eclipse was meant to change the narrative, okay, about a truth that may no longer serve you. So what you're doing is rewriting this. You're writing a new story in the third house, and the way you think, you're basically coming up with your own reality. And I love it. All right, Taurus rising, Taurus sun. This is happening in your 2nd house. This is where you're downloading the update. So we're talking self-worth, self-sufficiency, money, values, abundance. That is the 2nd house. That's your assets. Okay. So what you had to do for the lunar eclipse was let go of old narratives about how you share your resources with people, or maybe have to count on others for money, maybe contracts you had. Now you're bringing it back home. My worth, my self-worth. You're writing a new story here. Neptune's in your 11th house of friends and long-term goals. So this is where you're really going to have to reflect and surrender, is the 11th house stuff. Friends, long-term goals, aspirations. Let that be fluid right now. If you've had some hard and fast goals, you may want to take a step back and go look at your values in order to write this new story. Are you writing your goals in accordance with how much you value yourself, or how much your self-worth is? That's the question here. Okay, Gemini rising, Gemini sun. This is happening for you in your 1st house, your identity. You're really writing a new story on who you are and how you show up in the world. So Gemini rising, with this being in your 1st house, this is about independence, yourself, right? How you want to just be and show up. Neptune is going to be in your 10th house. So what you're having to reflect on and maybe let dissolve a little is the idea of what you are in public, your career, your public reputation. You're wanting to write a new story for who you are, on the outside, right? So maybe you have to let go of some of these hard and fast ideas in career, and dream a little in that area. Allow yourself to go into a cocoon of sorts in your 10th house and let that 10th house turn to goo. Okay. So of course, if you're in a career that you love, this isn't saying that you need to change your career or anything. What it is saying is find a way to be yourself at work, be yourself in public. Okay. All right. Cancer rising, Cancer suns. This is in your 12th house. This is the quintessential retreat, self-reflection, transcendence, spiritual area. I'm a Cancer rising. It's happening in my 12th house. And I kind of feel like I don't exist right now. And that's okay. So you're rewriting a story. If this is very subconscious for you, this download and update is not necessarily anything you can really grasp. So it does require a lot of surrender for Cancer risings. For the lunar eclipse, you were letting go of health narratives around your daily life, around your routine. So maybe you've always been like, I've never been good at having a routine. Well, this solar eclipse is saying it's time to rewrite that. Okay. Now, Neptune's in your 9th house, which is going to be about your personal beliefs and maybe teaching. It's almost like a quest that you're on, a spiritual quest. So for you, it really is about being quiet and journaling, learning, listening to podcasts that are, philosophy based, because this new cycle that you are starting is really almost out of your hands. So surrendering, being quiet. By the time the moon Friday moves into your 1st house, that's going to be the time to set intentions. You're going to know a little more about who you want to be. Okay. All right, Leo rising and Leo suns. This is in your area and where you're getting the update is friends, your networks, and your long-term goals and aspirations. That's where you are rewriting your story. So what you had to let go of would have been some sort of narrative around your creative self, around your inner child. And oftentimes, we can be harsh with our inner child. So this for Leo risings is about setting a new goal to really be in your heart and be yourself, especially in the community, and make sure you have a tribe that really supports you. Neptune's in your 8th house, which is power and disempowerment and shared resources. So there may be some contracts that you need to get rid of or be done with. There may be some shared resources that you are no longer comfortable sharing. That's Neptune acting on that 8th house area. So you have to pay attention to that because the update is happening in your goals and your friend groups. So you may have a completely new friend group when this is over. All right, Virgo rising and Virgo sun. This is happening in your career area, the 10th house. So you're really getting an update here, okay? It's going to have to change your perspective a little. So what's interesting is Neptune is in your 7th house, which is cooperation and relationships. So there's something there that may need a bit of a spiritual update from. Okay. So you're having to dissolve maybe a way that you relate to people. That's ultimately going to help you in your career and in your public image. So that's where you're getting your new update. That's where you're downloading your update, is how you are out in the world, your career. You had to let go of maybe some emotional security issues or some things around your home and family, some narrative that you had around your home. Like I think of a Virgo rising I know who was maybe complaining about working at home, but then realizes that, oh, I really like to work from home. So you can see how the home career axis is really highlighted with Virgo risings. But you have a new perspective coming in for career, that's for sure. And ambition. That's another word I'd use. All right, Libra rising, Libra sun. This is happening in your 9th house, which is your personal beliefs, new horizons. So you're really going to be looking at, where can I go from here? The adventure is wide open, and you maybe learning something new. You could be going back to school. You could be taking, continuing education class, but this is about learning, knowing, truth, and belief that you're getting this perspective change and this update downloaded. Now, Neptune is in your 6th house of work and service and routine. So I'm going to say that there is maybe a routine update that you could be enacting here. Like maybe you need to, and health as well. Like you could be starting to drink detox teas every day, or making sure you're eating nourishing foods, or having an exercise routine or a yoga routine or stretching, but also routine in general. Maybe you need to start getting up and journaling every day. This is a very important thing for Libra risings right now. Routine, ritual is going to really set off your greatest adventure, because this Gemini update's happening in your 9th house, which is like the sky's the limit in the 9th house. Okay. It is optimism and joy. So, and that personal truth is like, I'm in my truth. It feels good to be there. So this perspective shift really is going to come through 6th house energy, which is routine, health, and daily work and service. Okay. So Scorpio risings and Scorpio suns, this is in your 8th house, which is power, disempowerment, shared resources, business contracts. Woo buddy, that's not an easy place to have this solar eclipse. There's a lot of transformational work going on here. Okay. It has a lot to do with how you've shared things in the past, who has power over you, who do you have power over. Now, Neptune is in your 5th house, and that's really pointing the way towards joy. Okay. It's saying, look, don't worry about the business contracts. Don't worry about the investment. I want you to have fun. So you're really being called to go towards your greatest joy, your greatest purpose, having a good time, creativity, inner child stuff. Like it really, the Gemini solar eclipse in the 8th house, that will shake out. What you really have to do is be following your joy. So the lunar eclipse for Scorpio risings and Scorpio suns was in your 2nd house of assets. And so you're really getting rid of an old narrative there. Like maybe I can't have this house if I don't have this business partner. Well, you know what? It could have taken that business partner out. Now you're looking for new contracts or new investments. But Neptune's like, don't forget to have fun, Scorpio rising. All right, Sagittarius rising, Sag sun. This is in your 7th house of relationships. Okay. So you're really changing perspective on how you relate to people, including romantic and friendships, agreements. That would be another word I'd use. You're getting an update there. Now, Neptune is in your 4th house, home, family, roots, emotional security. So this is really saying, hey, do you have a place at home to feel emotionally secure, spiritually supported? Do you have a corner in your room that you can sit and meditate? That's going to be a very important thing for Sag risings right now. Like if you are getting this update in your relationship area, you're also going to have to really get spiritually clear and reflective on your emotional security, what makes you feel comfortable and supported. And just really tune into that over these next 6 months. And I think that you'll find a lot of support from home, from family, from the idea of emotional security if you really focus on that. Okay, Capricorn rising and Capricorn sun. This is in your 6th house. So work, service, habits, routine. This is where you're getting your update. Okay. Again, for Capricorn and Cancer risings, this is a very like abstract sort of eclipse season for you. It's in your 12th, 6th house, which is spirituality, and then health and routine and daily work. So you're really setting or getting this update in your daily work, your health, and your routine and your habits. Now, Neptune is in your 3rd house, which is the way you think and communicate, and the way you make decisions and organize your reality. So there's some spiritual work you're needing to do, some reflection you're needing to do about the way you organize your thoughts and the decision processes that you have. So I would do a little work around like maybe journaling, or like making to-do lists, making sure you're communicating clearly with your whoever's in your home or at work. Okay, because I mean, your perspective changing on the sixth house stuff, it could make you, be like, all right, you have the meme with the person throwing up the papers and being done with it, right? So work on that, the way you think, the perspectives you have around your everyday life, what you do to make money and health and routine and service. Okay, Aquarius rising, Aquarius sun. This is in your fifth house, which is creativity, inner child, joy, purpose. Man, just about all of the clients I've had over the last few days have been Aquarius risings, and I think they know some joy is coming to them. Okay, this Gemini solar eclipse is happening in your fifth house. That's joy, purpose, fun, inner child, creativity, all of that goodness. Now Neptune is in your second house, so you're having to reflect on what your values are, what your assets are, what your self-worth is like, and you're really redoing that spiritually. So especially I'd look at next year for you're seeing a preview right now of the abundant gifts that you can have. It really is going to kick into gear in 2022, but you are also really being called to be in your joy as well. So get ready to have fun, Aquarius risings. I think you're as long as you are really trying to get clear spiritually on your values, I think that you're about to have a good few years. Okay. And your self-worth. That's one of the best parts of this is your spiritual work is around your self-worth. So love yourself. Okay. Pisces risings and Pisces suns. This is in your fourth house, emotional security, home, family, some perspective shift on what that means to you is what this update is going to do. Now, Neptune is in your first house of identity and authenticity. And so I think you're really being called to step in and be your authentic self. That's your spiritual work. That's what you're reflecting on. Who am I? How do I want to show up? Am I showing up in my truth, in my purpose, in my I guess authenticity is the best word for that. So for Pisces risings, it is about, the spiritual work is being you, and that's going to really help with this home, emotional security, integrity, family, roots update that you're getting. What does home mean to me? What does family mean to me? And also the lunar eclipse was letting go of some narrative you had around career and public image. And it is this emotional security place that you're writing the new story. You can't go out into the public until you are totally in your own emotional security. So that's what this is about. Now, I'm really excited for Pisces risings because Jupiter and Neptune will be in your first house. So prepare to be a magical little sprite running around, Pisces risings. Okay, so that goes through all of the rising signs for this solar eclipse update that we're all getting. Let me just say that for all of you, for everybody, that I don't think it will be auspicious to do anything but listen through Thursday. Listen, quiet, journal on Thursday. It's a quiet time. Friday is when the moon moves into Cancer. That's going to be the really good time to get into your intention setting and to get emotionally clear on where you want to go. Okay. So let's see when that exactly is. Okay, so yeah, that's going to be Friday morning that happens. Friday morning, the moon moves into Cancer. That's really when I think we're going to feel out what actually this solar eclipse even meant. I mean, it's pretty confusing during the solar eclipse. There is no, you may have epiphanies, sure. I'm not going to say that you won't, but just wait until you can feel into it on Friday morning. And we're also really supported there because the moon will hit Venus as well Friday evening, I believe. And that really helps us get clear on our values as well. And are we in our emotional truth, So the other big thing that happens after the solar eclipse is Mars moving into Leo. So Friday is going to feel like markedly different from the rest of this week. Not only is the moon and Venus in Cancer, leaving that solar eclipse territory, but Mars being in Leo is like, yes, Mars is in a fire sign. That's going to feel so nice. We don't have much fire right now. And I know I need the fire to help ignite my passions and my motivation. So that's another reason I think that we'll be able to get a little more clear on Friday and the weekend on what the solar eclipse actually means for us. Okay. So from there, let me just give you a few more days past this solar eclipse so we can kind of see what it might be like. We've got the moon in Cancer most of the way through Sunday until Sunday around 4 p.m. Be aware the moon meets Mars. Moon Mars on Sunday could be like it could be an emotional inflammation sort of situation, but because it's Leo, something tells me that we're just going to feel really in our heart space and really passionate about the messages that we've gotten during the solar eclipse, especially because it was square Neptune, that spiritual insight. So it's going to be a good day, a good evening to be playful, and instead of triggered. not that you can control that, but if you're feeling triggered, get into that kid space. What does the kid in you want to do? Maybe being creative, just being playful, if at all possible, because that could be a little emotionally, a boiling situation. The moon is water with Mars, that is fire. So, okay, after that, some of the more important things is the 14th, we have the Uranus Saturn square, the second one. Now this is more of a large scope when we're talking about transits, because there's 3 of these this year. So it's like a larger cycle, but in terms of our own lives, it is good to make note of the fact that Monday, the 14th, there is a little bit of a tension between the freedom to be ourselves and to have like radical self-worth and be in our values. And then Saturn in Aquarius is like, but what about the future? How are we building? And so you're going to have to adjust one of those. If you want to have this freedom of expression, of being in your values, being in abundance, everything Taurus represents, which is a very sensuous sign, then you're going to have to change the framework that you operate under. And so maybe you have to redraw the blueprints. Now, the Uranus Saturn square is implicated in lots of social upheaval. So keep in mind that, do I want to say this? Sure. Keep in mind during this solar eclipse that Mars is at the 29th degree of Cancer, the anaretic degree, which is exactly square to 29 degrees of Aries from January 6th. January 6th. Oh my God. Okay. I said it. Just we may have some sort of crazy social upheaval around that time. Now, also, that could be good. I mean, there's a lot of things that we need to be, protesting against. And I also found very interestingly, the Sabian symbol for, let's see if I can find this. There it is. For where Mercury will be during this is a tumultuous labor demonstration. If that doesn't tell you a whole lot, I don't know what will. But I mean, think about the change in perspective and the updates I've been talking about. Intellectually speaking, what we're talking about is we're not going to take it anymore, right? So this symbol shows a need to periodically stand up when things aren't going well or when there's a feeling of being taken advantage of. And so on the 14th, this really comes into play with the Saturn square Uranus. So that's something to note. After that, and of course the moon will be opposing Saturn at the same time, because the moon always visits whenever it's a big transit. So our emotions may be a little like, ouch, because the moon in Leo really wants to be in that kid space. Saturn in Aquarius is like, but the future and how we build this and the rules. So just keep an eye on June 14th. It could be kind of a very Monday. Let me put it that way. Okay, so after that, have I missed anything with Venus yet? Venus does sextile Saturday, sextiles Chiron. So that could be a Saturday, maybe a little bit of a healing moment. Just be aware of that. So the moon moves into Virgo, and this is where I really think we're going to have a lot of the realizations from the solar eclipse because it is the third quarter square. So let's see, the moon moves into Virgo on June 15th, Tuesday. It looks like late at night. So we're talking really a Wednesday, the 16th deal. And then the actual first quarter square, which is the first period of adjustment from this solar eclipse, is going to be Thursday, the 17th, later in the evening. So what this is like, okay, you have these new ideas, you had this update. Do you have what it takes to put feet on the ground to do this? Virgo is a sign of details and work, and so it's asking you to focus, right? At the same time, it's also trining Pluto. So it's like we have the choice to break free from an old way of doing things. We're writing the new story and we're going to be in our power doing it. All right. And then we've got the moon in Libra. And really, what I'm looking at actually is Venus on June 20th coming into a nice trine with Neptune. Now that's going to feel magical. And that's actually also the solstice. The sun moves into Cancer as well. Oh, yeah. Sunday the 20th and Monday the 21st are going to be real nice because the sun will also trine Jupiter. Venus will trine Neptune. Here we go again with the Jupiter Neptune stuff. So the solar eclipse, the lunar eclipse squared Jupiter, solar eclipse square Neptune. Well, on the solstice, the sun trines Jupiter, Venus trines Neptune. So it's like, okay, that might have been a little tough that you had to surrender to whenever I told you where Neptune was for all the rising signs. That's where you had to surrender, reflect, go into that spiritual place and listen. So the 20th and 21st is when we might get our first little boost of the gift from that. Okay. The realizations, the emotional realizations. And I do believe that's going to feel really, really nice. I'm really excited for June 20th and 21st. And that being said, on the 19th, just before the solstice, Jupiter goes retrograde. So that means it's standing still when the sun moves in and trines it. So also very interesting. Anytime Jupiter touches stuff, it expands. It makes it larger. And when the sun's in Cancer, people get real emo, but also real huggy and nurturing, and you want to feel comfort. So there is that mixture of really nice, comforting, intuitive energy. And then, of course, Jupiter turning retrograde is going to just expand that even more. From there, we've got, I think that's the biggest stuff to talk about leading up to the next full moon. Pay attention to the 22nd when the moon crosses over the south node for some themes from the solar eclipse, just to see what might play out. You might have some awareness come into play there. And I do want to talk about the opportunity because the full moon is the 24th. And I skipped over one date that I wanted to highlight, and that is, Saturday. I've already said that, June 12th, because the moon is with Venus and it's going to be sextile Uranus. That could be an opportunity. So Saturday, Sunday, yeah, there's just no way around it. After the solar eclipse, Friday, Saturday, Sunday is awareness. It's okay, this is what it feels like to have gone through this update. Okay, that leads us all the way up to the next full moon on the 24th, in which I'll be back and maybe a little more put together when these eclipses are out of my 12th house and Mercury's not retrograde. although it won't go direct until, let's see, when does it go direct? That's an important date as well, and I can't remember. I can't be expected to remember everything, y'all. I try. Oh, okay. Mercury goes direct on the 22nd. Hey, that's great because that's the days I'm talking about with Sun and Venus being trine Jupiter and Neptune. So if things have felt a little wonky off and like things just aren't happening, it has for me. I even feel like I wasn't like my brain is just not making words right now or like making sense. So I hope this has made sense. After June 22nd, that gets a lot better, I think. So we have that to look forward to. Just a few more days of this wonky eclipse energy. And then, then we kind of come to this resolution, and then the full moon in Capricorn will be like, okay, now I see what I got to do. Now I see the work I got to put in. Okay, well, I think that fixes it. I hope I've made sense, you guys. It's so good to see you all. You know, everyone's getting back out there, hanging out, doing things, and I certainly want to be, you know, but we're doing all we can. You guys always holler if you have any questions about what this solar eclipse means for you. Don't forget, I went through the rising signs. This will be on YouTube later. And oh, hey, Jason Grubbs, I miss you. Oh yeah, my band's playing Ghost Train for Birmingham people on July 9th, I believe. So come celebrate the end of Mercury retrograde with me. That was a loud truck. That means I gotta go. All right, y'all. I love you. This will be up on YouTube later. Have a good solar eclipse time. And don't forget to be quiet on Thursday and listen. Because Friday and Saturday are going to be the times we really are aware of what this update did for us. All right, y'all. See you later.